This is Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Julie.
Join us for unbuttoned and unedited conversations.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Julie, and we're excited to have Will Kemp again with us. Welcome, Will.
Thank you. It's great to be back on the podcast. How have you guys been?
We've been great. Busy. And you too have been very busy.
Yes, we've all been busy, and aren't we grateful for it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming back. We had a lot of fun last year when we got to talk about The Dancing Detective with you. And today you are here for your new movie that airs this Saturday on February 3rd, Paging Mr. Darcy.
Absolutely. Part of the Lovuary and Jane Austen themed month, which we're all very excited about.
I know everybody loves Jane Austen, and this is something, I guess it's not new to Hallmark, but they're doing it in a new way. So it's kind of refreshing to see.
Yeah, definitely. I obviously haven't seen or don't know much about the other films, but I think that this, as far as I'm aware, is much more in keeping with Jane Austen, and in fact a retelling of one of her books. And I think it's not just using the names, which I think has been done before. It's a very clever, and I think there's a book club that goes along there as well. So it's a real invested month in the author and her great works.
So can you tell us a little bit about Paging Mr. Darcy?
Yes, I can. So our film that kicks off on Saturday, Paging Mr. Darcy, is in a nutshell about a professor, a very smart lady who is a keynote speaker on Jane Austen as a person who teaches it, goes to a fan con and is asked to be the keynote speaker. And that's played by Mallory Jansen, who is a wonderful human being and a fantastic actor. It was the first time we got to work together, and I hope it's not the last. And I play Sam Lee, who is a young man who does his aunt a favor every year at the convention and plays Mr. Darcy. And what drew me to the character was the sort of premise of a guy who is shy, who finds his most sort of confidence in dressing up as a fictional but a character within a very well-known book. And by the very nature of becoming Mr. Darcy, he finds that he is loved and adored by all, and gets a lot of attention, whereas in real life he's totally the opposite. Sounds a bit like me, really, if I'm honest. So I could immediately identify, and I think that what's clever and beautiful about our film is that it isn't a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but it has some very clever interwoven characters and relationships, which people who know the story well will be able to identify with. I certainly had a great time being in a modern day film dressed in breeches and a hat. That was partly why I agreed to do it. It's possibly the closest that I actually will get to playing Mr. Darcy. Who knows?
Oh, come on. No, but don't you think that when he dresses, it just gives him confidence too? It's like you put on a little layer between yourself and everyone else.
That's exactly it, and that is an intrinsic part of the character. And it was definitely, that's what I do for a living, right? I mean, anyone who really knows me knows that I'm quite different from the characters that I get to play, and that's the reason why I do what I do, is to get to explore different situations, times, and relationships, and live wholeheartedly in those for that given circumstance and time. But yeah, I mean, I got to be in parts of Canada, for example, in a car park, dressed as Mr. Darcy with a top hat and breeches and boots and the whole thing, and everyone else was, walking around going like, what's this guy doing?
Who's the dude over there?
Yeah.
And do we walk away?
Exactly. Is this a cosplay thing? Or actually, that's what's fascinating. lot of the time people didn't bat an eyelid because we get everything these days. I don't think there's much that shocks us. I think we're quite, if it's a person dressed up, it's like, happens all the time these days, perhaps, right?
Especially
Very
if you
true.
drive social media, you're going to see it a lot. People expressing themselves.
People will be in a corner, like chatting away to their phone, like really amateur, and everyone else is going like, because they're influencers I mean, we do strange things all the time. Let's face it.
We may have done that in public before.
We've all done it. We've all done it. Hey kids, look where I am. Look. Yeah.
Oh, we were wandering around Vancouver recently doing that. So
very true.
Oh, cool.
Very
true. Vancouver's great. So where are you guys? So where are you based again?
So we're both in the States. I'm in Rhode Island.
And I'm in Minnesota.
Got it. So Vancouver is not too far, but it's obviously Canada.
It's far.
Far from me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not as far from the UK, right?
That's true.
I used to take that trip on a regular basis when I was doing Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce.
I bet. Yeah.
It's a great part of the world. It's a great part of the world.
Yes, we really only had one day to explore, but we had a lot of fun. I think we made the best of it.
Oh, good.
In the rain and all.
Good. Yeah, you're by the water. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Great people, great food.
Yeah, we ate and saw things. That is exactly what we did.
Perfect. You lived life to the full by the sounds of it, which is good.
We were there for Ben Ayres' event, so that was just
yeah. With the he's such a lovely man. Was that the new studios? Was it that launch
during the Martini Town? Yes.
Martini Town. What a great name.
It's fun. Every street is a little different. It's it's super fun. Maybe you'll film something there.
I'd love to film it, particularly if it's called Martini Town. I think it's probably my kind of town.
We'll all bring a little drink. You never know. There could be you could come from England to film something that looks like it's English.
Yeah, exactly. We got this great story for a London themed show, and we're going to shoot it in Vancouver. I've done that before. I've done Toronto. Exactly. I've done that in Toronto as well, actually.
Oh, good. Great. You're just like, okay.
So where was Paging Mr. Darcy filmed?
We were in Ottawa, which I hadn't been to before. So that was the first time I was, again, as you say in the beginning, we've all been very busy. We feel very lucky. I had a very short time between A Not So Royal Christmas, which was shot in Toronto, and Hamilton. Came home, I guess it was almost 10 days, and then I was back out to Ottawa for the first time. It was getting cold. It was really at times getting uncomfortably cold, and there's a bit of a wind chill up there, and I could feel that Canadian bite. Yeah, I felt very English and very weak, and it's too cold for me.
And you're outside in some of the previews anyway for
a lot. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I was grateful that I was able to wear. I wore like warm leggings under those breeches, and I had layers on underneath. The women on the show were in these beautiful, pretty dresses, but I mean, like right the way down here, and arms bare. They're a lot tougher than us men. Let's face it. You are, I should say, as a species. I think
people don't always understand like how much acting might actually be pretending you're not in the elements you actually are. Too.
No, and you've heard this, I'm sure, before. The irony of sort of anytime you do a Christmas film, it's in July, and you're sweating, and everyone's got hand fans, and everyone's trying to mop up the sweat, and then vice versa when you're doing a spring or like a romance or something, you're literally can't speak because you're so cold. That's showbiz.
What's your best tip, Will, for pretending like the opposite of the weather, like when it's freezing and you have to pretend you're...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's twofold. There's a practical element, so keep your long coat on, big warm thing up until the last possible moment, and then get it back on again immediately when the shout cut. And then I guess with anything acting, if your attention is not on what you're doing, attention is on the other person, attention is on where you are, what you're doing, and if it's a shorter take, then it's genius. Clearly, if it's a longer take, the elements will come in. But yeah, just get the attention off. Oh, I'm so cold. Oh, I'm really hot, and then things take care of themselves, I guess. But it's tough. I mean, it is tough, and it can literally ruin takes if it's. I'm trying to think of an example. I've had it where it's gotten so cold that our breath begins to show,
Right.
and either they have to say, "Oh, we have to fix that in post," or they have to like start to warm us up.
Right.
Yeah,
no, that's a real thing when you're shooting in Canada. Your breath's going to show a fair amount of the year. So no,
exactly.
And then the ladies, I so love that they get to be in some period piece gowns. Everyone loves to see the dress up part, right? Super fun.
Absolutely.
Toughing it out there in the weather, because those gowns, like you said, they're not, it's not 10 layers and up to here and long sleeves. Nope.
Exactly. And actually what I love about paging Mr. Darcy is that because it's a fan con, you really do get this sort of blending of not quite knowing, is everyone in costume? No. But then you sort of get mixed or sort of trapped into this hybrid world, which is actually quite fascinating. I find that that'll be an interesting thing to see how an audience adapts to the costume and then the fan convention part of it, where a lot of people do go all out, and that's part of why they're there. And then you get the other people in total modern kind of outfits. There's a real mishmash of looks.
It's
fun.
Yeah, Hallmark people really love a good fan convention besides.
Me too. I know. Christmas Con is a big one, which we all have a great time at.
Yeah, and there's been some smaller ones too.
Right, like Brahma Drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you do get that, like, what are people wearing? What are they dressing up in?
Oh yeah. The ones that I've been lucky enough to do, absolutely. People go out, and particularly as it's Christmas themed, which I love anyway. I mean, people go all out, and it's wonderful, and they embrace the whole spirit, and they embrace the sort of, the joy of it, and actually being silly, which I think is really lovely.
It's very fun to be at one of these events. We've enjoyed hosting and being involved in them in the past. It's amazing to see the fans and then to watch the talent interact with everyone. It's so much fun. So I think people will love that energy in the movie. Yeah,
I think so too. No, I'm really genuinely intrigued to see and hear what people's reaction is.
Now, as somebody that is no stranger to these fan events, were you able to throw in any kind of like little Easter eggs or nods to maybe your experiences at fan events?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah, I think the structure of the Jala is what it's called. The Jane Austen convention is slightly different. I felt that this one, because we sort of dip in and out of it, it has a lot of activities, which is quite fun. So they do things in the arts and crafts room. So everyone goes in and makes a bonnet, for example, and then they have a tea room where everyone tries all the teas. It felt that was if it were to be a real thing, was potentially a bit more structured, and there wasn't people. As far as I know, Sam Lee, the character I play, is the only one who dresses up as the convention's Mr. Darcy.
Gotcha.
So it's potentially less about meeting the actors, or it's more about the celebration of Jane Austen and looking through some first edition books, merchandise, which and hearing keynote speakers. So it's a little bit more, I don't know if it's highbrow, but it's more of a sort of convention of scholars. shall we
Yeah.
say.
Yes.
Kind of love that. Sounds a little more like Laura Ingalls Wilder Day that we have in Minnesota here, where you get to go and talk through the stuff and see the stuff too.
Right.
So
okay, yeah.
No, that sounds fun. People are going to love it because I think the community loves being connected like that. So Sam is the only one who gets to dress up. Does being dressed up give Sam more confidence with the ladies?
100%. I mean, there's a great line in there where I think I say something like, wherever I go as Mr. Darcy, I bring joy to women, and in his own life he's not been quite so lucky, and also hasn't sort of had the opportunity or the confidence. So definitely Sam, the guy I play, almost finds himself through playing this character and meeting Mallory's character, and by the end of it, without spoiling it, there's a nice osmosis that happens in terms of real life character building confidence over dressing up character confidence, which is a lovely journey which I enjoyed doing.
Will we get to see a lot of Sam as Sam, like outside of this convention piece to the film, or is the majority of the film wrapped around
it's pretty well proportioned. I would say it's sort of, without spoiling it, it's sort of bookended potentially, but then it also I'm gonna be honest, I much prefer playing the Mr. Darcy role. It was a great chance for me to do something a bit different, both in how I looked, my hair, the costume, and that's actually the main thing that attracted me. It was an opportunity to dress up as Mr. Darcy, and who knows, it could be the closest that I'll ever get to playing Mr. Darcy. So for me, for me, the intrigue of being able to do a costume drama for Hallmark, even though ours isn't a strict but for my character, there's a huge proportion of the movie where he is, and very proudly is, playing Mr. Darcy at the convention, and he takes that role very seriously. And that was definitely a real reason why I said yes, was because I thought that could be fun, and I've not done that before.
I love it. I was laughing when I first saw that you were playing Mr. Darcy because in The Dancing Detective, I made a reel when your character fell into the fountain, and I said that it's very Mr. Darcy-ish, not from the books, but from the movies. It's a loved scene.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of perfect that you actually got to do Mr. Darcy.
That's obviously, Sarah, that's obviously why I did it. That's obviously what happened. You put it out there. You made this. I'm very grateful. So thank you.
You have to put it out there and then let the powers that be make this thing happen.
We'll have to reshare. Well, do we get to have more Mr. Darcy falling into the water scenes?
That would spoil it. I'm pretty sure the only water I come into contact with is what I drink in this. Yeah, there you go. I hope that hasn't spoiled it or maybe not. Maybe I'm submerged and I come out of the water like Matthew McFadden, or I jump in like Colin Firth, or or maybe not.
It'll be great no matter what. So in the clip, you are using your natural voice, your normal talking voice, which we love, by the way. We're complete
German
fans.
accent is what I thought I'd do this time, because everyone loves it when I do accents. So I thought that I'd do German. Anyway.
Please no.
Das ist nicht so lustig, nein.
But when you're Sam, do you have like an American or Canadian accent, or
no? There was sort of was interesting. The writer is a playwright by trade, and I think this may even be her first film script. And I think it was more a sort of choice of, because it sort of bleeds over. There's like a micro and a macro thing that we sort of tap into, where it might have been too much of a gear change
Yeah.
to be putting on an accent, taking away an accent, because the point is that the two characters, there's almost three of them. Do you understand what I mean? It's almost like a blending, and then it sort of slightly shifts. So it was, yeah, I felt it made more sense to be English, and there's a little bit of change in cadence and potentially pronunciation. I played around with a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think had a Canadian actor or an American actor been cast, maybe they would have thought of it in a different way.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we love that. Like we're fans of, like, come in with your normal voice. Everyone else fakes a British accent. Like we're not.
That happens a lot. Yeah. But yet when I fake an American accent, which I do a lot of people resisted it. It's very interesting. It's fascinating. I've had this a lot with sort of over time playing lots of different parts in lots of different kind of accents, is that you go into a room, three people, they'll hear it differently, and each person will think, no, I hear East Coast, no, I hear West Coast, no, I hear this, and you have no control over that. All you can do as an actor is work the hardest you can and be as consistent as you can, and know either that you're imitating a specific person or that you're from a specific place. And even then, as an actor, you're told, oh, just do general American. It's like, that's such, what's general?
What is that?
I mean, here we're told to do received pronunciation, which is basically what was the Queen's English, which is now the King's English, which is basically a received pronunciation, which is a lot of what the sort of Jane Austen incarnations have been, is the RP, which is just very clear, clipped, slightly more upper class, proper, spoken properly.
Speaking of Jane Austen, again, I feel like a natural question is, have you read Pride and Prejudice?
I must have done at some point, and it definitely. I mean, I will tell you, of course, I've read all the books from beginning to end in preparation for this role. But to be honest, the point of this isn't. And again, I actually came from a Not So Royal Christmas pretty much quicker than I anticipated into something else, which is wonderful. And I felt that it was more. I went back and I watched the BBC drama, and I had recently seen the Matthew McFadden, Keira Knightley one, and I also a friend of mine, Matthew Reese, played him in What Happens After Pride and Prejudice. So I felt that was more key, because I felt as Sam, he would have done classics and literature in university, and it was more about the dress up, and it was more about the acting element of it. So I could have easily spent a lot of time reading the books, whereas I had to analyze the script, and I had to get into the role I was doing, and had to learn lines, and I had to do all of the work that I usually do. So I sort of actually made a quite conscious choice that actually wasn't going to benefit me. There were bits that I could see the parallels, and I did definitely research little bits of it.
Yeah.
But I felt that because we're not doing a retelling, we're not doing Sensibility. Had we been doing Pride and Prejudice, I would have definitely gone back to the source material and gone, what's changed? Why have they cut this? And that sort of thing, of course.
It sounds kind of fun, actually, that Sam is just he gets more confidence. You get to play him with a bit of like more drama and stuff. Fans are going to love that.
And there's great humor in that also. I enjoyed, and actually we had a great time in sort of, because of their relationship, there is pride, there is prejudice, there is in their sort of clashing of, he's dressing up being ridiculous, and she can't understand what on earth, why would he want to look so stupid and make a fool of himself, and he actually loves it. And so he sort of begins to play on that. and so within playing the role, there's also playing at the role, playing at that relationship, which becomes very intriguing until they make a pact, and then they end up teaming up, and actually they then learn from each other, help each other, and both learn in different ways what it takes to accept the beauty of Jane Austen's work, and also, the romantic side of it, which I think Sam believes in from the beginning, and so Mallory's character doesn't at all, because she's purely intellect.
Right. So is this a good like push-pull relationship where they kind of push?
Absolutely.
Love that. Love when they're pushing each other's
My
buttons.
favorite. Yes.
You have to have conflict, because one of the biggest sort of challenges with all of these things in this sort of arena, in this genre, if you like, is conflict, because we're not here to give, massive dramatic conflict, but without it, you don't even get comedy. There's got to be something that's sort of that they're wrestling with, because otherwise characters don't develop. There's no learning. There's no journey, and without a journey, honestly, it's boring, and it can be flat. And I'm always drawn to trying to find, eking out, conflict.
I love when that push pull gives such depth.
Yeah,
to
the push pull is actually better. Yeah, because then you get two people that begin like this, and they come together and they do this, and then they sort of change and journey, and then they move on together. So they both have to learn from each other, and then you're watching two people adapting in a very human way, as we all do in any relationship. And that can be fun to watch. It can also be sad. It can be funny. It can be all of those elements. But if you don't set it up well, sometimes it's tricky to eke out.
But I think those pieces make these movies of the week. Like, those are the ones that become my favorites that I want to watch again. The ones that have a little bit of that dynamic and a journey that you can relate to, but also is like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's get it. Let's get that. You like that tension a little bit. Like, you can feel it in the room.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that being given the opportunity, we probably talked about this actually with the Dancing Detective, that when you sort of lean into the banter, and that was what was a real fun. I know we're talking about slightly off topic, but just on that terms of being able to create the Dancing Detective and work with a very talented writer, Aubrey Day, on the Dancing Detective, we were able to go in very early on and make sure that that's there on the page, in the very very makeup of the characters, so that you could always lean back into a little bit of needling each other or playful banter, so that it then becomes, we know it's fun, and the audience then buy into the world, and they know it's fun, and we know we don't take it too seriously, so it's nothing too conflict, too dramatic. It then becomes this sort of playful, like you say, push and pull, which you can do that for hours and people will love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings that depth. Otherwise, as you said, the characters get really flat, and that's it doesn't pull me in as a viewer then. So we love that. We both love a good banter scene. So
good. Well,
I love when the whole movie is lots of banter.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to bring you more of that with Dancing Detective. But we're here to talk about Paging Mr. Darcy.
No, Paging Mr. Darcy. I love
Speaking
that.
of Paging Mr. Darcy, you mentioned that Sam, your character's aunt, is throwing this event. So do we get to meet her, and does she play
Absolutely,
a role?
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Karen Scott, a great Canadian actress, plays my aunt, and she's phenomenal. She's a really important and a great character in the film, and she is whom Eloise, played by Mallory, aspires to impress. That's the key. You see, she's here to impress her because she's after the job at Princeton. And the minute my character comes onto this, he's like, gotcha. Well, here's what I could do for you. I know everything about my aunt. I know what she likes. I know what she doesn't like. I can help you get the job. However, that means you're going to have to learn the country dances, that you're going to have to play dress up, that you're going to have to go to all these events with me and make a fool of yourself, basically. So he spends the whole movie basically pulling her pigtails.
Perfect.
Which again is fun because you then have a bit of conflict, but you understand each person's point of view, I hope, very early on, in that they form a pact, and there's another reason within that why Sam wants her to get the job over someone else. I hope I'm not spoiling it for people.
No, people love this stuff. They'll be like,
I'm probably not explaining it very well either, so they're like, I don't understand a word he's saying, but I'm going to watch it. Yeah.
There's some tension. There's some reason.
Exactly.
There's a drive.
Sounds like multiple layers, multiple things are happening in this story, which is always fun. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the script, and I do believe that it was captured on film as well. We had great producers there with us, a great director, Peter Wellington, and Galen Fresh is our producer there, and some great people at Hallmark. Also, Jessica Callahan was a big fan of this right from the very, very, very conception of, I think, the whole thing. She's a big Jane Austen fan, so people knew what they were doing. So with us, which felt great.
Right,
love that. When people are watching this movie, is there a favorite location that you filmed at that people can look for?
That's a very good question. There's a golf course, which I know is pretty like, oh, it's a golf course, but actually the juxtaposition of people playing Pall Mall and sort of playing bowls and having Regency themed ball games on a golf course is a great juxtaposition, and there is a surprise in there, and I'm not gonna tell you anything else about it, but it's a really nice little Easter egg. And there's one other which actually came out really well. There's a play that happens within our film, and what's beautiful about it is it's so basic, and I mean that in the best sense. I mean pared down, creative, in a sort of real, sort of kind of honest kind of art. Sorry, that's my dog, if you can hear.
That's okay.
So Elvis.
Mine was just barking a minute ago.
That's what they do, right? That's what they do. They bark. But it has twinkle lights, and it was a set design on a bandstand as the stage, and it's very simple, but it encapsulates a certain point in the movie so beautifully that I was really proud about how that came about, because it's not overblown set design. It's very honest, homemade kind of arts and crafts. Does that make sense?
Love that. A little play within the play. It's tales all this time.
Yeah.
That's fun. People love looking for that. That's a couple of good Easter eggs too there. So
speaking of Easter eggs, we have to shout out your cameo in A Merry Scottish Christmas. There was a lot of cameos.
I was in that?
Here, and that was our favorite.
Did I do that?
It was so good.
I love that. Oh, that was a lot of fun. I had a great time on that, and that was basically, I think, Lacey's idea. I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty certain that was Lacey realized the proximity to where they were going to be shooting. We've talked about it for a long time, and I mean, for her, I would do anything. So she just needs to ask, and I will be there. But I did have a great time, and again, what I enjoyed about that was I saw it as an acting job. I was playing a character within the film, and it was, we rewrote, restructured, and improvised quite a bit of it. Yes, people got all the jokes, but the point was he's a legitimate part of that whole clan and is married to James, who played the lead actor's sister. So it was a lovely Easter egg, I think, in the most kind of honest and best way, in that people who know got it. People who had no idea wouldn't have been hopefully taken
Right.
out of the movie. Because if
Yeah.
I'm really honest, I don't think we need to do that. Personally, for my taste, I love an Easter egg to be exactly that.
Yes.
Some you find, some you don't, some you have to
Yep.
be told about and then go back on, then you watch it and go, oh, that's
Mhm.
clever.
Yeah. No, we loved it. And of course, got it right away. We're like, oh, this is spectacular. But yes, it just wove right into the movie, made sense. And
I hope so, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't distract from the movie, just adds to it. And that's what we loved about a good cameo. So we were
Yes.
like, that was great. That was a
Oh, I'm
perfect
glad.
Will Kemp
Oh, I
cameo.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, thank you. And hopefully we'll all get to do a lot more. I think it's a great idea. I think it's brilliant. And it could be never ending. It could be never ending. If it's handled correctly,
Yes.
I think it could be never ending.
For as fans, it's so much fun to see the cameos, and some are just so good. And this one had the perfect nods to the waltz and the tango. So it was like, that was fun.
Good.
Yeah, our chat was blowing up when it happened. That was a lot of fun.
No, it was a good movie. Also, I genuinely thought they did a brilliant job. I loved watching it. So I saw the movie, and yeah, I thought they all did incredibly well. It was great to see Scott with Lacey again.
Yes.
Everybody loved that.
Yes.
Yeah. James,
that movie was filled
great
with
guy, great actor.
lovely Easter eggs. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, very in fact, very cleverly down to the name of the pub, and also what was the other one?
Oh, things on the wall, like
lots of the art. Yeah,
brilliant. I loved. Anybody our age, my age, grew up with that show, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Okay, so speaking of that, do you often watch Hallmark movies?
I do, as much as I can, and unfortunately, and I sort of wish this wasn't the case, but being an American company primarily, I struggle to find it in the UK. And what tends to happen is that, particularly immediately, it's difficult. I mean, if you now subscribe to Peacock, which I also do, then you can watch things, but even that's up to 72 hours or something. So there's a very finite window, and then you have to wait for things to then get sold internationally. I mean, I've had recently people calling me or recognizing me from Christmas Waltz, and I'm like, oh no, they saw it this past Christmas on Channel 5 or something. And I'm like, oh. So yes, I do, and I'll often need to get a hold of a copy or a link or the DVD if I'm going to be working with a certain actress or actor or director or producer. I will always do my research, but it's not as accessible as I wish it was here in the UK. And I have so many people coming to me saying, these are great, how do we watch them? And I still struggle with, there's a VPN and then Peacock, and so they're a bit like, oh, so it's not just on Sky or BBC, or because we go back to like originally, right, there were like 3 channels here. I mean, so
it's it's interesting, the whole VPN thing. We've had to put out information about that in the past for our internet followers.
I mean, I've asked Randy Pope and people at the network, why is it, and it's just then not an international company, and actually the films that are made by the producers, that part of that, to make that work, they need to retain the international rights to sell it internationally. So it would obviously be a completely different model of if they were a global company.
But the streaming services have helped with a lot of things. So Peacock is where you can find all your Hallmark stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. And actually recently, A Not So Royal Christmas, I think, came back on as a permanent one of the Hallmark films you can watch whenever you want, I believe. And they seem to be doing that a bit more, and I think that helps out globally as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
not as easy as it should be, but it's getting easier.
No, exactly. And we'll get there.
We're getting there. We try to put out information to help people find Hallmark movies wherever they are.
Well,
so
I appreciate that. So
yeah, we love that. So we find that actors fall into kind of two groups: those that like to watch themselves or will watch their things after they go to production, and those that do not. Where do you fall?
I think it's a slight it's an obligation, I feel. I mean, I will often request, I guess it's more the producing element in me potentially. I also want to know what the final cut looks like. And if I'm an exec producer on stuff, then I'll have access to the rushes even every day. I fall into that because I can detach from being self-conscious. No, look at me, look at me. I can look at the whole thing and find, is the tone right? What's happening with the set design, the art, the lighting? I can see beyond just some me, good, bad, or indifferent. And I always like to have seen the films before we talk about it, so I have a good idea of what paging Mr. Darcy will look like, because otherwise I don't feel I can say things legitimately, because I don't know what will, because it's the bit which is out of the actor's I mean, a lot of things are out of the actor's control, but this is specifically out of the actor's control. The edit, how it ends up, can be very, very different from your experience. So I don't go back and watch it, but I feel that it's good. I can learn from personally, but at least I know what it is we're talking about, that I'm in, that people will be watching.
Yeah, I like that. So you like the global view of it. You're looking more at the global elements, right?
And I enjoy that even on set to a degree. I can often look at a frame and I can say, by the way, I can see the cable in the bottom of the frame. Oh yeah, remove the cable, because I have that kind of passion, and I love making film. I love making TV shows. The whole process still. I love coming to work, walking onto a set, greeting everybody, and feeling that we're all there. It's the film department. That's how I look at it, and so I love that when I'm on the job, and then I love that at this part, even when we're talking about I can talk way too much about everything because I genuinely have a passion for it.
I love that. And did it take you've been acting for a long time and you've done so many different projects. Did it take you a long time to be able to detach from watching yourself and kind of that self-consciousness, or like concentrating on you instead of the whole picture?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think the more that I've done, and I can only speak from my own personal experience, the more that I've done, the more I've appreciated the process, more I can step back out of being overwhelmed or consumed by me and what I'm doing. The key to a lot of it, I found too, is do your homework, work your little behind off before you come to work, and then you'll find you're a lot more open to the process. And if your attention is outside of yourself, then you're less self-conscious, less nervous. And again, I think that over time and experience, I now fascinate at what the guy in the corner is doing, what the focus puller is doing, what the camera guys are doing, what that. So yes, I would say that over time I've become less obsessed with myself, which I think is a good thing for everyone. But that doesn't mean I don't care, and I know my place in the machine, and I'll also protect my character if I feel things aren't going a certain way, I'll very politely and gently advocate for
Mhm.
my point of view in that machine, of course. It was a long-winded answer to your question. I told you I can talk forever, so apologies.
No,
We
we
love
love
this
this and
stuff.
we can too. So this is what people love to hear about though. Like, how did you get there and what was the process?
Yeah. It's so funny because everyone will be like, "Oh, he's talking about process." We think he's doing Hallmark movies. They're just fun. They're fluffy. They're entertaining, which is part of the challenge, by the
Right.
way.
Yeah.
These are not
Absolutely.
easy. I was talking about doing the first one, and I now watch it with new actors to the genre, to the network. It's a very specific beast,
Yeah.
and if you aren't comfortable working at that pace and on that material in that environment, it will eat you up.
Mhm.
I mean, it's pretty unforgiving, and you have to really fall in love with the world, the material, and what it is that you can bring to it, and what you end up having to believe in. Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't allow much room for anything other than just surrendering into the spirit of Christmas or Jane Austen
Right.
or Lovuary, or
Right.
just it's actually okay to feel warm and fuzzy.
Right.
It's actually quite nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that's why they're so beloved.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And remember, the viewers are watching these, but they are watching other things too. They're coming there for a reason. So they're going
yeah.
to watch those other things too, but they're picking to watch these because this is what they want to see. Do they love it when there's like more to it or there's different layers? Yes, absolutely. We love
Mm.
you guys bring that to that.
Yeah, and I will, hand on heart, always say I'm always advocating for that. I'll always try the hardest I can to bring different things to it, or to try. I mean, so the dancing element,
Yeah.
I will always try to bring in, because it's a huge part of, so my life, it's a
Right.
huge part of where I come from. It's a very genuine truth and essence that I have lived and that I would love to keep on bringing. So any opportunity to do something a bit different there, i.e. with another dancing detective or something like that, which I have a little bit more creative kind of input in.
Yep.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. People watch the news and then they watch the stuff that we do. I mean, that's all you have to do. We're right.
Right, right. No, they, and with streaming, people make lots of choices, so they're choosing to watch your Hallmark movie. And so, I just kind of love that, and I love actually some of the changes that have been
Yep.
happening, and some of
Mm,
the different things that we've been seeing. Because even like this, it's Jane Austen, but it's not just using the name, and it's not actually doing Jane Austen. The somewhere in between is a lot of fun.
mm. Exactly, and I think you make a good point, and I feel very proud to have been and to continue to be a part of a network which is choosing very consciously to evolve. And some people may say it was potentially a little bit overdue. Point is that it's a conscious change and
Mm.
celebration
Right.
of what the world we all see around us, live in, and are aware of. And I think I'm really proud to be a part of that. And even part of the Jane Austen month, it's something which is cemented in literature. It has a very sort of secure, very, poignant, well-educated, interesting um, foundation, which is a wonderful place to start. So
Right.
I personally am really looking forward to watching the other films this month as well, because I obviously can only talk about Paging Mr. Darcy because I haven't seen the others.
Yeah.
But they all look fascinating. So yeah, I hope it's a big success and maybe something they will look to try to do every year in a different way. We could do Shakespeare, we could do
Right.
Right.
Dickens, we could do Tennessee Williams, we could, I don't know.
I mean, there's a large a large world of literature out there that we could choose from.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it'll be fun. I think this is I love, like I said earlier, this is not new to the network. We've had movies with the character names and such in it, but this is a new way that they're doing it. And I just think it's right on trend. Again, they've been keeping up with those lately, and I'm excited for it.
Me too. I'm fascinated actually, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a really, really interesting month of movies.
And do we have anything else to look forward to in the future? Like, are you working on, you mentioned executive producing earlier with the detective. So do we have more of
Yeah.
that kind of
Well,
will?
we are very much talking about and trying to do another Dancing Detective. There's a
Oh, we love
lot
that.
of moving parts. I think I mentioned that. And then outside of the Hallmark space, I have Mythica,
Yep.
Stormbound, which is an adventure sci-fi movie, which I believe that's now completed, and that should be coming out at some point, I think pretty soon.
Fun.
Exciting.
Yeah, and I love that world. I love the genre. I love horse riding, playing the
Mhm.
mythological characters. I eat that stuff for breakfast. I love it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, my focus is how are we going to do another Dancing Detective, and at the moment, that's all consuming. So I'm training at the moment, getting back into good shape, and yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but it's so exciting, and I'm thrilled that I'm even developing, and we're creating a script at the moment, which we think is going to be really fun. So I hope I'm not speaking out of turn or giving away. Hopefully, I'm allowed to sell these things, but I think the next one's going to be really fun.
Fans are really going to be there for that because
I hope so.
yeah.
Because also this is the thing. There's very few things you do where we were going back to the conventions, but it's I was lucky enough to go back again last year, and I saw a lot of the same people, which I recognized them all, and there's a real connection. And Hallmark fans specifically make themselves heard.
Yep.
And
Yes, they do. They got
are,
opinions.
yeah, genuinely in a polite, meaningful way that they mean goodbye, but they are very vocal, and I feel there's a big connection. And I think that the network, I believe, listens and will hear what people want. And I think there's a lovely synergy in giving people what they want, and also hearing back how much they're enjoying it, and possibly what they don't get quite so much or they don't want quite so much is also interesting, if I'm honest.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It almost feels like a partnership, even though in a
Yes, I
very
mean,
broad way.
yeah, exactly. I mean, as an artist or as an actor, and even as a human, I can't control what people are going to think, and I don't try to please everybody, and you can't please everybody. But it is, I do hear some really lovely things from people, and it's very touching, actually. And actually, they can be really genuine stories of who they watch the shows with, why they watch them. I have my own personal reasons why I do these, and I think it's lovely to exchange those sorts of meaningful reasons why we watch and why we do certain things. And Hallmark is an arena that definitely encourages that, and I think it's a wonderful world to be a part of.
Yeah, agree. Everybody has their story. I don't think we've ever talked to somebody that didn't have a story about why, this genre has become so special to them. So, yeah, it's just another layer. Yeah.
We love watching the people at the convention tell their stories or share with one of the talent. It's actually so fun to stand on the side and watch that happen. Actually, it's just kind of amazingly engaging. So,
yeah, and it's a real thing. Yeah, it is, and I think those conventions do genuinely give us a really good sense, and hopefully a reassurance of what we're doing actually means something and reaches people and is worthwhile on those crazy 15 days. We're losing the light. We've got to shoot 3 pages of dialogue in one. Those sorts of things that you just think, this is insane. How are we ever, you know?
Speaking of losing the light, you lost the light. They had to shoot that falling into the fountain scene, didn't you? Or you were losing it.
So for Dancing Detective, yes,
Yeah.
that was one of our first days. It's a very good point you brought up. We had to shoot at a certain time because our DOP Russ wanted a specific glow in the sky. So we sort of rehearsed it, we prepped it, and they built this little platform which went off into, actually it's a swimming pool, that's like an infinity pool, and they built us a platform which had about that much water because I wanted to be able to splash and to use the tango leg action to create water.
Right.
And then to capture the water, it has to be lit in a certain way. And we literally were waiting. And then it was go. And we did it quickly. And I only fell into the water we had one take. And so what happens in that take is literally the only time we ever did it. And there was some improvisation that happened, and we then had to carry on straight away, which we forgot. We thought we were just going to do the splash, but they didn't shout cut. So Lacey and I are both in that weird space where, like, I didn't hear cut. Did you hear cut? I didn't hear cut. No, me neither. Should we carry on? What's next? I don't know. And there's moments like that in these films that you learn as an actor to trust. It's about trusting. Whereas lots of actors go, stop. No, sorry, I need to do that again. You cannot.
Right.
You have to live and breathe it very often. And there's a real test in, if you know your character and the story and the situation, you're fine. If you don't, you're in trouble because you'll come unstuck. And I think a lot of actors walking into these types of films, that's the bit that surprises them, because they go, oh, I can do a Christmas movie. It's just, it's like, really? Okay. Good luck.
Well, that was it panned out great because we talked about it with Leif Bristow, who
Leif's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's he always comes up with ways to make things work, and I love that about Leif.
Yeah, he was just like, we had 24 minutes to shoot, so
yeah. And in fact, I don't know if he told you this, but he was directing.
He did.
I don't know if he told you that we had a little COVID thing happen.
Yes, that's right.
And it was an unforeseen circumstance that he ended up literally directing us, and so everyone was like pulling it out of their behinds, like this. Well, this is what we're doing.
It worked. It was magic, right?
Yeah. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yep.
Sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the word? I don't know the saying, but it is. You have to be spontaneous, and if you capture it, it can be magic.
It was magic. Also Leif is one of the executive producers on it, and is a very experienced and gifted director. It's you're not completely just pulling it out of nowhere like these are.
No. But every director I have worked with anyway usually has a shot list. They have because in my view, the director's point of view is it's their vision. It's through their glasses that they see the story, right? That it's one person's vision, really, the visionary. But it's what they say, a collective conscious, right? That we're all at the film department. We're all on that track. But if you've not done those preps, if you've not done those shot lists, and you're suddenly told, oh, by the way, tomorrow you're gonna be directing, there's a bit of like, what was the shot list? What are we doing? And he was brilliant at that, and actually to exactly what you were saying, his experience, because it's also what he does. We were so lucky to have him there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful.
We're all crossing our fingers that we get another round of them, and we should probably wrap this up since we're hitting an
We
hour.
should. I know. I always talk too much.
we talk too.
I get told off.
We could keep going,
Excuse
but
me.
we'll be conscious. I know you have a day of press.
Yeah, I do indeed. Today is press day, is what I've told my family. So, yeah.
So I'll lock myself into this room and don't bother me.
Yes, exactly. I'm in the corner here. You can see I'm in a very small room in London.
Perfect.
Well, make sure everybody to tune in to Paging Mr. Darcy on Saturday, February 3rd on the Hallmark channel. And Will, we thank you again for being here. We always love talking with you.
Thanks, Will.
Likewise. Yeah. Thank you, ladies, very much. And thank you for your patience. And please, everyone, enjoy Paging Mr. Darcy.
Perfect. Hang on for 1 second. And thank you, everybody, for watching.